Hey everybody, welcome to Top 10 Thursday on the Leek. I'm John as always, and this week we're taking a look at the top 10 cards I was wrong about in my Ixalan set review. Little late on this video because boy, having spoiler season and set review so close to the start of the year is a recipe for one heck of a busy life. I feel like Christmas was yesterday and suddenly we've got pre-releases starting tomorrow night, so let's take one last look at Ixalan and all the ways that I was wrong last set review. Up first at number 10 is Adanto Vanguard. I gave Vanguard a C- and said that I was going to start pretty low on it because I wasn't sure exactly how much life you were going to gain in the vampire decks. Turns out you can actually gain quite a bit, and an indestructible, even just the fear of it becoming indestructible, creature is really annoying. Realistically, this card's much more like a C+, high C+ range, and I did in fact start too low on it. So at least I was right about that. At number 9 is Goring Ceratops. I gave this a B-, well aware of its casting cost, but I didn't quite expect the format to be as fast as it was. Turns out this card is just unplayable. It costs too much, it's too little toughness and power itself, and just not impactful enough. While I would have loved a format where this was somewhat playable, it just isn't. Not a B-, way closer to a D that really acts like an F. Number 8 is Skullduggery. Now, I wasn't down on Skullduggery. I gave it a C, in part because I wished it was Subtle Strike, where your creature got a counter that stuck around, but turns out no, even if it is fleeting, this effect is quite solid. C wasn't exactly super far off, but it really was much more of a high C+, even low B- kind of range. I would never cut a Skullduggery from my deck. Ever. Up next at number 7 is Vance's Blasting Cannons. Now, I gave this an F. And I still haven't actually played with it. I had it in a deck, I never drew it, but I have seen others play with it. As I expected, no, it doesn't really flip that often. Casting 3 spells is just not something that happens in most limited formats ever. But the front side of this is nice enough that I would play this given the chance. Getting the extra card selection is nice, even if sometimes you have to watch that land that you really needed go away, or you can't cast the card anyways. This still isn't a high card. I don't think I'd go any higher than a C, maybe a C+ on it, but F was certainly too harsh. Number 6 is Tillinolli's Skin Shifter. I gave it a B, but I also knew I was being very optimistic about this card's ability. I just really wanted to rush in with a copy of an amazing creature, but that just never really seemed to come together. So often, I saw this card as an O1 that couldn't attack. Everything that it copied just wasn't good enough. The format just didn't lead to having quite as many bombs as it did to having things that were boosted up via auras, counters, other stuff you can't copy. So Skin Shifter, unfortunately, is much closer to an F. At number 5 is River Sneak. I definitely felt like Merfolk was going to be good. They clearly had the low early game on lock, and against any stumbling would just win. But I was unsure about River Sneak, given that it was only temporarily bigger. Turns out even a 2/2 unblockable can be decent, and the Merfolk deck's specialty was casting multiple Merfolk a turn, making this even bigger. D+ was very wrong, and in the Merfolk deck it's much more of like a B-. Outside of it, of course, it was still bad, but boy, when it was good, it was good. Up next at number 4 is Growing Rights of Itlimoc. I had this at a B, mostly because I really like Cradle and Ramp in Cube. But no, Ixalan is very not Cube. Also, Growing Rights is very not Cradle. Having to have 4 creatures down in order to flip it just takes way too long. By the time you pull it off, if you pull it off, you barely have anything left to cast and probably have 5 or 6 lands at least anyways, so what's the ramp doing for you? Yeah, there's some fringe cases where of course you could, be popping out a billion dinosaurs or something out of the dinosaur thunder spine something, some sort of repeatable mana sink effect like that. But that plan just really wasn't something that you got to do too often in Ixalan. So Growing Rights is much more around a D-. Still don't quite have the heart to give it an F. Number 3 is Argul's Bloodfast. I gave this a B as well. Drawing cards for a low amount of life sounds awesome. There's some formats where this would be a really great deal. Turns out not casting a creature, paying life, all of this is just not something that you want to be doing in Ixalan. This card didn't really have a home, but may work in a lower powered cube or something, far closer to an F than the original B that I gave it. Our second last card is one that I was really wrong about in the positive direction. Emperor's Vanguard I gave an A-. Repeatable Explore sounded amazing, all for the low price of hitting your opponent, which you want to do anyways, right? But it turns out that a 4/3 dies to an awful lot of stuff, and then if it doesn't, it just fails to attack into things pretty commonly. I played this card a couple of times. I don't think I ever once connected with it. I saw people play it. I don't think they connected with it. I don't know if anyone ever actually explored using this card. A- was a big mistake. It's an F like some other, it's not an F like some other cards. I think it is in the filler range, around maybe a C-. I would cut this card a decent amount of the time now. The final card I was wrong about is one that people yelled at me about right away, and no, it wasn't Wanted Scoundrels. I killed that card so many times before it hit me. I wasn't wrong about Wanted Scoundrels. It's Kite Sail Freebooter. I gave it an F. I don't know why, but I continuously underestimate 1/2 flyers for 2. Mist Intruder got the same treatment from me, ditto for Ether Swooper. At some point I'll learn my lesson. Turns out that removal was a bit weak, and so your opponent just didn't instantly get this card back like I expected they would. You usually got to attack in with it a few points of damage at least, and because we lived in a world of auras and swords, this thing was often way bigger than it was supposed to be. Kite Sail Freebooter is a card I would never cut and be happy to play with at around the B- range. Definitely not an F. Next time a 1/2 flyer with an ability comes my way, I'm probably going to massively overrate it, so it'll still make one of these lists anyways. So that's going to wrap it up for the top 10 cards that I was wrong about in Ixalan. Ixalan was definitely a little bit of a faster format than I expected. I still really, really enjoy this format. It's in one of my top, I'm going to say 10 formats of all time. Definitely not top 5, but I enjoy this format way more than a vast majority of other people do. I don't know why. Anyways, let me know what cards you misrated, what cards you thought should have been on this list from my set review that aren't on this list. Argue with me some more about Wanted Scoundrels. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at TheManaLeek. That's L-E-E-K like the vegetable, not the card. You can also find me at Facebook.com/TheManaLeek, Twitch.tv/TheManaLeek, and Patreon.com/TheManaLeek. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button, click subscribe if you want to see more, and if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.